Good to see you again. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set a goal and commit to it. Setting a goal is pretty easy, but it's the commitment where people get stuck. They fail to follow through for one reason or another. So let's take a quick look at the 7 secrets to success that I covered in a previous video. So we start with the present state to desired outcome model. Before you set a goal, you need to get oriented in space and time. So where are you now? Where did you come from? And once you have these 2 coordinates, then you can focus on your destination. This is your desired outcome, your future self, the new you. So 5 years from now, 12 months from now, 4 weeks from now, what will your life look like, sound like, and feel like? And then there's personality type. So once you have a rough idea of your future self, you take a look at your personality type. Now I use Roger Hamilton's Wealth Dynamics profile, which is based on the Myers-Briggs and fits in well with NLP meta programs. There's details on my website about that. And I'm actually a INTJ Myers-Briggs and a Wealth Dynamics creator. It's important to know your personality type. Because your personality type is your genius, which means you need to choose an occupation which suits your personality type. And then we get to passion and interest. So if you follow your passion, then you should find yourself in an environment in which there is the potential to flourish. But you've got to know what your passion is. Start with. Some people don't. It takes a bit of work. So once you're in that environment, then you need to fit yourself into a role which interests you and suits your personality. And then there's purpose. So what you do is you come back to your future selfing exercise and you rework your desired outcomes. And then you start asking why. Why do you want that outcome? Why else do you want that outcome? And once you get that, then what do you get to have and to experience? What will that mean to you? This clarifies your motivation. And what you're looking for are those key driver values that get you out of bed in the morning, propel you through the day. Now flow. Next step is flow. Next secret is flow. You got to understand flow. A flow, or what sometimes people refer to as being in the zone, is defined as an optimal state of consciousness in which you perform at your best. As Stephen Kotler tells us, there are 4 stages of flow. First is struggle, 2nd is relax and let go, 3 is flow, and 4 is the learning and consolidation. Now, everything starts with a struggle. You set a stretch goal for yourself and you set an intention to take action. You push, and at some point you feel like giving up, so you take a break. You go for a walk, have a shower, tidy your office, you play a musical instrument, you ride your skateboard, make a phone call, anything which distracts you from the activity. And what happens is your brainwaves shift from beta down to alpha, and then with a bit of luck, you get those bursts of theta, and you get the aha, and you find yourself in flow. And then we have, so what you're doing is you learn to set an intention which drives your attention onto the task at hand so you can focus in and concentrate. You get plunged into the eternal now. You're in the spiritual state, which the mystics talk about. But here you're actually living that, and it enables you to perform at peak. So to recap, you do your goal setting, right? That is, you do your future selfing exercise. You learn everything you can about your personality type. And part of that is connecting with the right people. And I can't emphasize that enough. Do what you are good at and then team up with the right people to take care of everything else. So you put yourself in an environment in which you flourish. You engage in activities which interest you. You clarify your values, which means you understand what it is that motivates you. And most importantly, you learn how to get into flow. You've got to understand that process, and you have to recognize what knocks you out of flow and what you need to do to get back into flow. So once you're clear on the task that faces you, then you set an intention which drives your attention onto the task at hand such that you can focus in and concentrate and be really productive. And then we get to questions, statements, and commands. Questions, statements, and commands. And this is a very important element, because this is how you think and talk. If you listen to yourself, you will find that you ask questions, make statements, and give commands. And it's the quality of your thought processes that will determine the quality of your outcomes. So what questions do you need to ask? What statements do you need to make? And what commands do you need to give yourself? Okay, so now we've had a brief look at the 7 steps to success. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty and do some serious goal setting. Make sure you pause the video and answer the questions as we go along. You might need to watch this video a number of times until you understand the processes. Okay, so we're going to run through the well-formed outcome questions. We start with what. So what is the desired outcome stated in the positive? So what is your desired outcome stated in the positive? It's not what you don't want, it is what you want. And what will that look like, sound like, and feel like in sensory experience? All right, so that's your what. And then you've got to contextualize it. So when do you want the desired outcome? When do you want it? You've got to put a date on it. Where do you want it? Where in the world, where in your life do you want it? And with whom do you want it? So you know what you want, you contextualize it, but then you've got to get the motivation, you've got to get the purpose. So why do you want the desired outcome? Why else do you want the desired outcome? Why else do you want the desired outcome? Then you map the meaning out around that. And then we get into the processes, into the how. There's a number of steps to this. This is where I think people could get stuck. So do you know what to do? So you've got a desired outcome, and you've got to turn it into a project, and then you've got to have all these steps leading up towards it. So you've got to chunk it into different steps. So do you know what to do? And if you don't know what to do you know somebody who does? Next step is your desired outcome, is it self-initiated and maintained? So is your desired outcome self-initiated and maintained? Or does it rely upon some external variables such as luck? So what this means is that you set a goal for yourself. You want to get $1 million mansion and have a Ferrari in the garage, something like that. And you can be going, I am living in a mansion. I am driving a Ferrari, and somehow expecting it to manifest itself. It doesn't work like that. It's like, you want a goal, you have to do something. You are the one who is responsible. So you have to initiate all the processes. You have to speak to people. You have to do the work. You understand? That's very, very important. Making all these I am statements doesn't really do much at all. So self-initiated, maintained. And then can you do it? Can you do whatever is required? And if you don't have that capability, if you can't do it, do you know somebody else who can? And then have you done this before? Whatever it is, whatever the action step is required or whatever it is, have you done it before? If not, then how are you going to get the experience? How are you going to begin those processes. Which brings us into the steps and stages. So do you know the steps and stages? The steps and stages that are required for you to work towards achieving your cherished desired outcome. And then it follows that you have to have an action plan. So do you have an action plan? Do you have a written action plan? It can't be some vague idea in your mind that you want to have this beautiful lifestyle, travel the world, have millions of dollars or whatever. It's like, have you got an action plan? Let's see it. Sensory-based experience. And then you have to have a way to monitor your progress. So how do you know that you're making progress? So at the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, you have to have some way to evaluate your progress to see whether you're actually moving in the right direction. So remember back to when the first spaceship went to the moon, and everybody knows this now. Like 95% of the time, the spaceship was off course. 95% of the time, it was off course. But the astronauts had a way to monitor their progress, and then they kept reorienting and bringing the spaceship back to course, and they were able to land on the moon. They reached their destination. So you've got to have a way to monitor your progress. And then do you have a way to deal with the interferences? Because the bigger the goal, the more interferences you're going to get. And the interferences can come from the external world, from the marketplace, from other people, from government, corporations, and friends, family, and self, your own internal interferences. Do you have a way to deal with those interferences? And this is where I come in. This is where someone like myself comes in. So I can help you with all these steps and help you to deal with, especially like your internal interferences and stuff, to help you to get on track to achieve your outcomes. So do you have the resources? Do you have the resources? Do you have the resources? So there's external resources, which is money and equipment and people and all that sort of stuff, but then just your internal resources. So you have internal resources, external resources, and do you have the resources? And then we get to your checks. So you set your goals, you know what it is, what you want, you know the context, you know why you want it, you've gone through all the action steps, and you've got the project, maybe you've written the project up, you've got it in a manual, which you printed out, or it's on your computer, you've got this project. Then you've got to do what we call an ecology check. You should have been doing ecology checks all the way along, but you've got to do an ecology check at the end. So are you in alignment within yourself? Are there any parts of yourself, any aspects of yourself that actually don't want to do what is required or really aren't interested in achieving the outcome, because you're going to have to deal with that? And this is where you may need to go all the way back to the very beginning, reevaluate your goals, reevaluate the entire project until you bring yourself into an alignment. Number of ways to do it. And then why do you want? You've got to ask yourself, okay, you got your project, you got your desired outcome. Why do you want it? And is it compelling? If it's not compelling, you've got to go all the way back to the beginning, go run through all the processes and find out why it's not compelling. Maybe the goal's not quite right for yourself. Reevaluate everything, reset everything, deal with all your internal stuff so it becomes compelling for you. And okay, so now you've got your project. It's great, sit there on the desk, but you can sit there on your desk for 5 years. It's like, have you made a decision to take the first step to initiate the action steps towards achieving the outcome? Have you made that decision? And then what will be the evidence, the convincer that lets you know that you've achieved the outcome? So at the end of every day, what will convince you that you've made progress towards your outcome? at the end of every week? What will convince you you've made progress towards your outcome at the end of every month, every year, etc.? What will convince you you've actually made progress towards your outcome? And then when you get that final outcome, what will convince you that you've actually, yes, I've actually achieved my big outcome? And then we get down to, so what are the immediate tasks you need to take action on? So right now you're watching me, you're listening to me, you're taking notes, all right? So hopefully you're taking notes, hopefully you're writing something down. But when you switch off the video, what are those tasks that you will immediately take action on? Are you just going to just switch out and just start watching some YouTube videos or go into Facebook and then just have a nice warm fuzzy feeling and think you've done something? Or are you actually going to take action? And what are those action steps? And there might just be a little step, just getting your butcher's paper out and just drafting out a future self exercise, just organizing things, whatever it is for you. And very importantly, what are you learning? So you're watching this video. What are you learning? And you could be learning some information. You're learning information. But what are you learning about yourself? What are you learning about yourself? Because I find for myself, learning about my personality type, the way that I think, is probably more valuable than actually learning about the stuff out there. So what are you learning? And now we get to the commitment, right? Commitment, because okay, you set a goal for yourself, but it's like you've got to commit. And commitment is not 50%, commitment is 100%. Right? Commitment is 100%. So what we do is we look at compelling futures. So it's like this. So you start at where you are now, and let's say, for example, let's say I don't know who you are or what you do, right? But let's say the person drinks alcohol, too much alcohol, they smoke cigarettes, they smoke marijuana or something, or they gamble, they just hang around with the wrong people. And so then you ask, well, what could be the consequence of that 6 months down the track? It's like, well, the person could just be deeper in debt and loser. And what could be the consequence of that, like 5 years down the track? And it could be, well, they just, live in the gutter. And what could be the consequence 20 years down the track? Well, they're sick, they're dying from cancer because of all the drugs, alcohol they took or whatever. And then what would be like for them when they're 60, 70? It's like, well, they're just living in the gutter, they got no friends, no money, they're sick and whatever, they're just obese, and it's just like life's hell, right? So that's what we call a negative compelling future. When you think of it, it should scare the shit out of you. All right? It should scare you. You go, oh, it's horrible. That's a negative compelling future. But then on the other hand, what you do is you build yourself a positive compelling future. So what you do is you take yourself out into the future till you're about 75, 80 years of age, and then it's like you look back towards now and you start writing the last chapter of your life. You're writing the last chapter of your life. You're doing a review of your life. You're doing an autobiography. You're looking back and you're seeing that, you set goals for yourself. Life threw challenges at you. You accepted those challenges. You took them by the horns, so to speak. You did the best that you possibly could, right? You did the best that you possibly could. You learned about your personality type. You came to understand what your unconscious mind or what your spirit or what your soul or what God wanted you or wants for you to do, and you followed that. You trusted yourself, and you did what was absolutely necessary, such that now you're here at 75, 85 years of age, and you've got loved ones around you, you've got friends around you, you're in good health, you've got money in the bank, and you feel really good about yourself. You feel really, really proud because you did the best that you possibly could. So we all have either a positive future or a negative future. And then what you do is you bring like a line from each all the way back to now. And then what it is, it's every decision you make is either going to lead you towards, every decision you make is either going to lead you towards your negative future or your positive future. And if you hesitate, and then it's the question is, well, which one do you want? Do you want the negative future or the positive future? If you hesitate, you'll always get the negative one. So then you run through the process again. It's like there's a possible negative future or a positive future. Which one do you want? It should be the positive future, because every decision you make will lead you to this path or this path. So then this is like, okay, this sort of helps to really, because now you're moving away from something, and the away from motivators is often the key to actually to doing what's necessary to make the path to success. So now the question is, are you willing to knuckle down and do the hard yards? Now, pause there, because you've got to really think about it. Are you willing to knuckle down and do the hard yards? If you are, then life gets better and better as you go along. And do you have what it takes to handle setbacks? Because the bigger the goal, the bigger the possible setbacks. And what it takes, or are you willing to actually to learn how to deal with setbacks? And do you have a strategy for dealing with setbacks? And do you have a method for acknowledging your efforts, encouraging yourself, and holding yourself accountable? So on reviewing your future selfie exercise and your goals, are you willing to commit 100% to taking the action and working hard at it every day to achieve your desired outcomes? If not, then this is where I can help. Just send me an email from my website, set up a time for a Skype session. If you want 100% commitment, then I can help you to set your goals, deal with your fears, and access and mobilize your inner resources such that you get to achieve your most cherished desired outcome. So when you're ready, give me a call. And in the meantime, all the best to you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.